Good morning. It is 10 o'clock, and I will call this Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We will start with a salute to the flag, and I'd like to ask Judge Simons to lead us in the salute. Welcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can you please help us call the roll?
Of course. Alexis Hill, Chair.
Here.
Jean Herman, Vice Chair.
Here.
Mike Clark.
Present.
Mariluz Garcia.
Here.
Clara Andriola.
Present.
County Manager Eric Brown.
Here.
Assistant DA Nathan Edwards.
Here.
And I'm Jan Gallo, Senior County Clerk. Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, if you could please lead us into item number 3.
Item 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the commission as a whole. Virtual public comment eligible when facilities are available.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
First up, we have Chief Judge Lynn Jones, followed by Roger Edwards.
Good morning, respected Chair Hill and all the members of the Commission, Manager Brown, Mr. Edwards, and the people we serve and the Sheriff's Office who protects us. I had been trying to get here for some time because I knew that our cleaning contract was on the agenda, and I may not be able to be here when it is on agenda because I will be in trial, I believe. I wanted to thank Commissioner Clark because I kind of pigeonholed him at the Elks Club and told him the concerns I had, less for the judges, but more for the public, and particularly for really all of you that you serve, because when we have juries in there, and it's not only just cleaning, it's sanitizing. And if I have a jury of 12 with 2 alternates and 3 people go down because it isn't clean, it costs you a lot of money to retry that case. And I also just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of you for coming to the courthouse. I know some of you came, and I was at a training with the Secret Service and I couldn't be there, but I just so appreciate that you are embracing the court. It's always been a unique relationship because it's your building, but it's our court, but we all serve the public. And I want to thank Mr. Crump he did the report, and I was madly going to write a letter, and then it all started to resolve because of all of your attention, and started by Mike Clark, but embraced by all of you. And we want to make you proud, and we want you to know that your citizens that are coming into our building, even though it's a little old and we're talking about a new one, but that it is an honored and dignified place. And it's odd that it would be a cleaning contract that would really spark so much dialogue. And so I am so grateful to all of you. I'm grateful for you giving us a voice that things had to be corrected. I personally worked at the courthouse when there was one guy, his name was Joe, and he was an employee, and he had his background checks, because these people see everything in our chambers. And he was safe, and I know that times are different. And I so appreciate you looking into this matter, all of you, and embracing it and embracing the courthouse. And I just wanted to come and voice my thanks.
Thank you. And just to clarify, so things are better with the contract?
They are. They're markedly better. And that is why I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming today. Madam Clerk.
Roger Edwards, followed by Elise Weatherly. Roger? You're up.
Okay. Good morning. Roger Edwards for the record. Hello, other public servants. I was so thrilled when I saw that we had the invocation on the agenda for last meeting, and then I see it's not on the agenda for this meeting. I talked to the clerk, and she explained to me how by policy it's only on the second meeting of each month. And I was kind of dazzled by that. I should have delved into that more, but it made a question popped in my mind. Why would we have a policy like that? When you say grace at your dinner table at night, you just do it like on Mondays or something, so it covers the rest of the week. You know, every time you serve the public, you should ask for help. And that's what an invocation is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be devil worship. It's supposed to be a request for guidance. All right, I would like to see that on every public meeting if we can. Also, you have a report by staff members requesting $600,000+ for the Gerlach area for sidewalks and so forth, that kind of improvements. Do they really need over $500,000 for a community that has one event a year? That seems like an awful lot of wasteful money for me, but please reconsider the invocation thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Elise Weatherly, followed by Terry Brooks.
Good morning, Elise Weatherly. I just wanted to let you guys know I was listening to KUNR on my way down here. I toggle back and forth between them and my music, and believe it or not, there's correlation. And so what I will say is I probably wouldn't vote for Biden. I probably wouldn't vote for Trump. I definitely wouldn't vote for myself. I am now what I call Roseanne Barr, you know, and she kind of transferred into things, and she smiles when she tells us the horrors that we're going through. So there was this doctor once that asked me what would make me happy. Ooh, that ticked me off because I didn't know. I know what would make me happy, and that's if the bad guys don't win anymore. It seems like the bad guys are winning, like my homeowners association. You know, I almost brought the picture of the $9,000 violation they hit me with. Why? Because I exhibited bad behavior. What did I do? I told the truth. I told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They don't go through a court system. They don't have a jury. They don't have a judge. They just slap you with these violations. Oh, big deal, right? No big deal. So the other thing that I would like to talk about is murder. I watched The Closer. They drive me nuts because the lead person, she's narcissistic and she's manipulative and she's all these different things. I went, oh, at least they're portraying her as what she is. So she was asking this new guy, what's the cause of death? And he says, murder. It was hilarious, but somebody had murdered this person. So I got to thinking about that. I suspect that my ex-father-in-law was murdered, okay? I suspect that the murderer has since died. I will also quote Hillary Clinton. What difference does it make? At this point, what difference does it make? What does it matter? So I wrote a song called Does It Matter? The thing is that when we die, this is not the end of things. You know, I think everybody really probably knows that. But do we also know that God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble? Those of us that have been given some really good gifts and talents, you know, we're going to kind of like cluck and boast and say, take credit for it. That is not going to work, you guys. Why do I know that? Because I've fallen flat on my face. By the way, Governor Lombardo's song is going to hit him up pretty quick. It's about blow the hose down, the HOAs. What these people are doing is wrong. It's wicked. It's unfair. It's unjust. But, you know, we're just going to go, oh, no big deal, right? That's like I called U.S. Bank today and said your Form 1098 has conflicting information on it. Oh, that's just the way it is. That, you know, it's how it is. And I go, so we should just put up with that? That you've got one piece of information in this box and another down there? I don't think so. Anyway, I tried to turn things over to my grandson. I think I might have failed, but I'll keep
Thank you.
Terry Brooks, followed by Penny Brock.
Good morning. It's me, Terry Brooks, again. And today I'd like to address the problem of mental health related to homelessness. Being homeless can lead to a state of poor mental health. And when the coronavirus came, it worsened poor mental health. The coronavirus not only caused more people to become homeless, but it led in other ways to more mental illness. When everyone learned that the coronavirus could lead to death, everyone built up a fear of taking their last breath. The coronavirus led to many problems that caused a lot of stress, especially to a lot of people who were going through homelessness. People not only lost their jobs, they lost their homes too. And if they catch the coronavirus, then what will they do? Many people have a fear of losing their own lives as well as the loss of friends and relatives' lives. And when people have their focus on such fearful things, then they tend to lose their focus on other normal things. And in doing so, it's hard to share an expression with each other when they try to explain their depression. And in such circumstances, they tend to build up their fear, which leads to their depression becoming even more severe. And living a life of fear can become an obsession, which then can lead to even more depression. That coronavirus has come to interfere, but the vaccines have come to help us persevere. That coronavirus has come to tire us, but the vaccines have come to inspire us. Again, I would like to thank you all for listening to me today, and I look forward to coming back because I got a lot more to say.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Thank you.
Beautiful as usual.
Penny
Madam
Brock,
Clerk.
followed by Scott Finley.
Good morning, Penny Brock. For the record, please put my comments in the record per NRS. Well, Reno got another black eye last week with the invocation by the Satanist. Did you happen to Google how it went across America? All the news across America that reported on it, I found it even went into Europe. Aren't we proud? You know, when I travel and people say, where are you from? And I say Reno, they go, oh. But if I say Lake Tahoe, they're like, oh, that's wonderful. Awesome. Why do we continue to give Reno a black eye? It's a wonderful community, wonderful people, beautiful with Lake Tahoe and all we have to offer. But we continue to do things that show that Reno is maybe does not have a lot to offer because of everything that's happening. And as far as last week, the invocation procedures and guidelines from the county commission, it says that the invocation is to ask for wisdom and guidance as the commission engages in policy and decision-making for the issues. How did that invocation last week do that? Not only for our commissioners, but for we, the public that sat there. It also says that no member of the commission, the public or government at the commission meeting shall be required or expected to participate in an invocation. We were not given warning about that. We should have been given warning so we could have left the chambers, which some of us did get up and leave, but we still heard some of the words. You violated your own policy here. That is huge. That is huge. You should apologize to the public and to the staff throughout this building that had to sit there and listen. That was wrong. And as far as that invocation by the Satanist, there is a question whether or not that was even legal. I found an article by an Andrea Picotti-Bear, a legal analyst. And this came after the statute of Satan in another state, and she said it made a mockery of religion, and her position is that it may not be protected by the Establishment Clause and the First Amendment, and I also take that same position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Finley, followed by Sandy Tibbet. Looks like I have documents to distribute.
These are for the commissioners, and I'll bring these back.
Okay.
Please enter my comment in these documents into the record pursuant to NRS 241. My name is Scott Finley. I am a resident of Washoe County and have a military background in the United States Air Force. The Washoe County Board of Commissioners must get rid of invocations by the public. Commissioner Clara Andriola introduced invocations by the public, to which every commissioner on this board voted unanimously to allow. This commission needs to own its mistake and take corrective action by limiting invocations to strictly elected officials. Invocations can be given by a commissioner at each meeting. A rotation allows each commissioner the opportunity to provide an invocation and maintains freedom of religion. If Commissioner Andriola would like to convert from Christianity to Satanism and give corresponding invocation, she can. If a commissioner is an atheist, they can even opt for a 2-minute moment of silence or surrender their invocation time for that meeting to the next commissioner who is awaiting their turn. Some of you may have never heard of the Philip experiment, which was published in the New Horizons Journal. In the 1970s, a team of researchers in Toronto, Canada, conducted an experiment to see if hauntings are caused by hallucinations, and if so, can the hauntings be controlled? For the experiment, they created an entity named Philip with a meticulously crafted background and death that was deliberately fabricated. For over 1 year, the group met up once a day each week, discussing and meditating upon Philip. One day, when talking to the imaginary entity known as Philip and projecting it onto a wooden table, they heard a noise coming from within the table. From that point forward, their sessions regularly resulted in sounds emanating from inside the table and in the form of vibrations and pulsations. The table would glide over the carpet and even rear up on 1 or 2 legs. The movements from the table became so strong, it was not uncommon for one of the heavy wooden legs to break or to even punch holes in nearby walls. The team of researchers even managed to get the table to levitate half an inch off the floor and move 2 to 3 feet. Effectively, they concluded that the entity known as Philip was a psychokinetic manifestation of the human mind. My point is that when I say that Commissioner Andriola invited evil into these chambers, I'm being quite literal. Even if a deity does not exist, a gifted individual or group of seemingly ordinary people can manifest into existence through sheer willpower alone. If a person states that they are satanic but don't worship Satan, there is inherent power contained within the words. If someone walked up to you and told you that they are a pedophile but aren't attracted to children, you would not let them near your child.
Thank you.
Sandy Tibbet, followed by Janet Butcher.
Sandy Tibbet for the record. First, I want to express my gratitude to Vice Chair Herman and Commissioner Clark for being strong voices for our community and taking a stand against the cold-hearted people sitting between them. It wasn't hard to find the proper words to describe the inexcusable display of self-importance, cruelty, and lack of knowledge demonstrated by this board last week. The board's conduct was a disgrace and a disgusting show of disrespect, arrogance, and ignorance. I do have to applaud them, though. Their shameless performance managed to put our county in the spotlight for all the suitable reasons. It exposed their continuity of collusion and corruption for everybody to clearly see. Our county going viral on the world stage was a godsend. It worked so well at exposing the truth that I recommend the board continues with their downward spiral into the depths of hell by having our local drag queen, Ginger Divine, give the next invocation. I support that. The argument of poor attendance at agenda meetings was a hollow attempt to justify the vote to retain Hill as chair. The reasoning holds no validity and belittles the intelligence of the voters. It was disheartening to witness the political motivation behind the orchestrated alliance to deny Vice Chair Herman the position as chair, as it speaks to the level of their desperation to keep themselves in power. The gelling and stability of this board will never be achieved until the board starts representing their constituents with meaningful considerations towards their grievances. The commissioners were elected or appointed to represent their districts, but you wouldn't know it with the number of times each said, "I know," "I think," or "I feel" during their argument against Vice Chair Herman. Numerous people came to this podium at the beginning of and at the end of last week's meeting and requested Vice Chair Herman for chair, and those voices were blatantly dismissed. They are so self-centered, they are incapable of hearing the people they are supposed to be representing. During your research, did you have the common courtesy to reach out to Vice Chair directly to confirm if being chair was in her past purview? Or did you come to that conclusion after only speaking to past commissioners? And for the record, we are that important. Our children and the people in our county are very important, and to state otherwise speaks to the level of disdain held towards our community members and the alliance or the allegiance to destroy our republic. I pray for all of you.
Thank you.
Janet Butcher, followed by Renee Resentes.
Good morning, Janet Butcher for the record. I want to speak again last week on 12J1, that the staff report begins with, "This will be the first presidential preference primary election in Nevada replacing the caucus selection of delegates for the two major parties." Using words from a commissioner last week, I don't mean to be rude, but this is a lie. The PPP is not replacing the caucus. So the delegates for the Republican Party will not be recognized from any vote getters from the presidential preference primary. The only delegates that will be garnered for the Republican Party to go to the Republican National Convention will do so via the caucus. In the caucus, there is no last-minute switching of parties to mess with the outcome. Voter ID is required along with the same-day voting and counting. I don't know that this to be true, but hopefully somehow somebody will let me know. I got a text message or an email, I can't find it now, but there will be there are not going to be any ballot tracking for the PPP. I put this up here because I don't know if you can tell from where it's at. Let's see if I can move it up a little bit. I don't have a Democrat in my household, but I got an email from someone who does. And they said the difference between her ballot and her spouse's ballot was that when she used the little supposed secret paper that you're supposed to put in there, hers was pink, but her spouse's was not. I'd like to have some clarification if that's true, because then when it comes in the mail or when they receive it, they know it's a Republican ballot. We'll look at so I don't know if that's going to happen moving forward in the other elections, but I'd like to have some clarification on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee Resentes, and then we have Incline Village.
Good morning, Commissioners. Renee Resentes for the record. I am here to address I didn't see it, but I was told that you were on television, Commissioner Hill, not too long ago. And you are saying that, that basically we, because we are opposed to some of the things that we talked about, was basically playing the race card. And I don't know anyone here, anyone who has been playing the race card, except for you. You have. And you're the one who mentioned it. So you need to stop that. You need to find some legitimate reasons for defending Manager Brown. So I also want to say that this presidential preference primary election it was only put in there to confuse everyone. People are so confused. Why isn't the person I want to vote for on this ballot? I get calls all the time from people. And I'm around a lot of seniors in senior apartments, and they are so confused about what is happening and what they're supposed to do. So this needs to go. All the ballots, the mail-in ballots needs to go. The caucus is the safest way to vote. We actually get delegates to take to the national convention and to support the person that we want for president. You don't get that option for the mail-in ballots, or the presidential primary. You get nothing except your taxes being used for it. But you get absolutely nothing. It's just a beauty contest. It's a popularity contest, and that's all it is. And people need to understand that. And when Sisolak, before he left office and he implemented this, that's all it was. It was just to confuse everyone and to basically try to sway the votes. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
In Incline Village, we have Sean Comstock.
Good morning, Commissioners. I've been a resident of Incline Village behind the Catholic Church for the past 30 years. Have any of you, I sent in paperwork, have any of you ever had the yellow card campaign that comes to your mailbox? Please take a peek at it. This yellow card campaign started with Dow Engineering Firm that was sent to my home like a postcard. It stated that there was going to be a meeting at 701 Mount Rose Highway. No, it didn't say the Catholic Church. It did not say the Village Church. They started a campaign with the meeting, and they filled out comment cards at this meeting that were filled out by children, students, and teachers of the St. Clair School and the Village Church that were there at the meeting. None of us neighbors knew what this meeting was about. So we find out what they do is they submit it to the county. We had no idea these comment cards were going to be submitted to the county. And and none of us filled them out because we had no idea where they were going. We went ahead and started our own campaign. We came up with a petition knocking on doors, door to door, with all our neighbors within the Tahoe Wood Creek regulatory rezone, the Tahoe Wood Creek. This is a map of the actual, Mount Rose Highway. It's all about location, location, location. Our forefathers of our town built our schools that we have in this town in the middle of town for fire safety and emergency evacuation of children, businesses. Mount Rose Highway, if you look at this map, please, Village Church sits on Mount Rose Highway. Catholic Church sits on Mount Rose Highway. That school, St. Clair's, has been there now for 2 years with the TRPA temporary permits. Please read my husband's letter and my letter that we sent to oppose this rezoning. Look at the petition of 50 neighbors that are in that regulatory zone that have signed and documented that they are opposed to this rezoning project. It is affecting our property rights of, now affected with noise disturbances, garbage, increased traffic. They have put an outdoor playground there. Kids are there, 45 students are there Monday through Friday. It's not church business. Church used to be held on Sundays with beautiful weddings, parties and things. They'd be there for a few hours and they would leave. It is constant business now between the two properties that they're trying to rezone for schools. There is a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
In Gerlach, we have Russell Burley.
Good morning, Russell Byerly for the record. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I would like to speak in favor of item 13, the board's approval of the community development block grant application for a pedestrian safety program that I believe is in Sun Valley, and then also a wastewater infrastructure capacity upgrade for Gerlach, for which we are seeking funding. Thank you very much for your consideration of this project. With wastewater capacity, there is a yellow line and there's a red line capacity, and we've hit the yellow line twice in the last 2 years. So by statute, we have to seek remedies for that capacity. This is one of several avenues that we're exploring. I'd like to thank you very much for your consideration. Also, I'd like to thank you for your service, that you continue to show up knowing that you're going to be held accountable for decisions you didn't make and things you didn't do, and often petition for the redress of grievances that are beyond the scope of your authority. You're an inspiration to us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's nobody else signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Was there going to be another public? I saw Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar. Is he
He's not going to make it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. With that, we will begin the regular agenda at 11 o'clock. We'll see you then.
else in the IRS statutes. This appointed person would be in office until the first Monday. For 14 months, I still haven't got an answer. What do you think?
Good morning. We will call the Board of County Commissioners meeting back to order, and we will move to item number 4. Mr. Manager.
Item 4 is Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information, or topics for future agendas.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manager, do you have anything?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. So back in November, the NACO Board of Directors recommended me for an appointment, and I was trying not to get too excited because I think I'm literally the only educator in all of the counties, 17 counties. But nonetheless, I am part of a newly established statewide commission. It was really exciting. We met in Las Vegas last week, and it was a group of people, educators from both K-12 and higher ed, business people, elected officials from throughout the state of Nevada, and it's a result from SB 425. And so I just want to let my fellow commissioners know that if they have any questions, ideas, or things that they want to elevate to that commission, I'm happy to meet with you. And I have the PowerPoint from last week that I'm happy to share as well. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for representing the counties. That's an important appointment. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad that Chief Judge Lynn, I almost called her Simons, Jones, came in and kind of gave us an update on what's taking place at the court. It's nice to hear that things are kind of getting straightened out there. You know, so many times when you own a business or you're a manager of any type, there's lots of things you don't like to hear, but you need to hear. And hopefully the cleaning service heard that there was some dissatisfaction, and hopefully that won't happen again. I hope that our contract, when we do sign a contract with this firm, gives us some leverage, so if we have other issues, we can bring it to their attention, some type of way to remedy future problems that are there. I mean, we're not in the courts. We don't monitor what's going on. We don't have time to go do the inspections, but if those that are being served by these vendors are not happy with what they're receiving, we certainly have to have a way to remedy that. So I'm glad the judge came in and kind of cleared up that things are getting better over there. So happy to hear that, number one. And then number two, you know, in the future, you know, I'd like to know who picks the groups that are going to give the invocation. I know there's a group of ministers here in town. There's some 40 different denominations represented with that group. I don't know how many churches are in the county here. I don't know if we have to limit it to county, if we have to limit it to anybody. I don't know how they're picked. I don't know who's in the queue to do that. I'd like to know some more information about who's going to be doing the invocations. I mean, how many religious groups have applied? In the future, could the group that is selected be on the agenda so those of us, the public and the elected officials, could understand who's going to be coming into the chambers to make the invocation? Do we want to continue with the invocation? That's I think, a legitimate question. I mean, what's next? Who else could we have? Could cannibals show up here and want to give some kind of blessing? Could it be a voodoo group? I mean, where do we draw the line on this? And so I don't know if we need to continue this or if you want to talk about it, or I think it's something that should be talked about again. It was voted on unanimously by the commissioners, myself included, but you know, I thought it was going to be some peaceful thing like, you know, saying grace at the Thanksgiving dinner table. I didn't realize we were going to go international with satanic people coming in and giving the invocation. So unintended consequences. Nate Edwards, DA Edwards said it best. I mean, when you open this up, I mean, you open it up. So was it an unintended consequences? Do we need that kind of
PR around the world. I mean, we're kind of laughing stock when everybody internationally is looking at this, and the folks that gave the invocation are using it to burnish their own credentials nationally and internationally. So I think it's something that we need to look at again. Next, I'd like to support Vice Chair Herman's elections resolution. She's been asking for that for months to be heard. I'm not sure exactly what's taking place with that. Seem to be out of the loop on this. I understand from the DA, I tried to ask that question last week, but it kind of got shut down. I understand that the DA's vetted those her requests, and I think it's a legitimate request and could be on the agenda, and yet I see the county's manager's spokesperson saying to the media that it's maybe illegal. So which one is it? Is it illegal? Is it not illegal? Are we allowed to have it on the agenda? Are we allowed to vote on it? So I'd like some further clarification on that. And then I tried to again talk about the appointment of a county commissioner by the governor, and I asked the county DA to pull up that NRS code, and he did, and it explains it quite clearly, so anybody can look that up. It is a partisan position. You have to be in that party, registered in that party to get appointed. And then I thought it was very interesting, a little golden nugget at the end of that. It's only a couple of sentences, so it's worth reading, but it talks about when that person's appointment is up if they don't prevail in their election. And I'm pointing this out because it ties in with some question I've been trying to get answered for about 14 months. Last year when I got sworn in, the county tried to move the swearing in date from traditionally here in Nevada. It's the first Monday after the election in January, and somehow or another the chair at that time and the county manager at that time moved the swearing in process and wouldn't tell me why. I refused to come in on that day, and I got sworn in on the proper day, but there were other elected officials in the county, the assessor and the treasurer and some of the others that were sworn in early. And I was just wondering why the county took it upon themselves to overrule the state law. So again, to Manager Brown, there's a question I'm still asking some 14 months later. Why was the swearing in dates of elected officials moved in the county in 2023? Couple more items. Last year, the chair was unanimously elected. 100% of the commissioners voted to have the chair as the chair. This year, the chair was elected by herself and two other folks. So the chair lost 40% of the folks that voted for her last time didn't vote for her this time. And then if you take out the fact that she voted for herself, the chair's now got about a 40% mandate. So I went from 100% down to 40%. I just want to get that on the record and make sure everybody knows that this is a very divided board. We can't seem to get straight answers. I can't get straight answers. I have further questions about why the county supplies information to the Wall Street Journal that doesn't seem to be accurate about the homeless count. I brought it up last time, and I'm going to bring it up this time. That brings this up. They use the article as the foundational basis for sharing information with the public, claiming that we have some 40 to 50% reduction in the homelessness around here. And again, I'd like to see those numbers. We continue to, let's say, exaggerate or underreport or just not give correct information and then act like we've done something. I think it's important that the public truly understands what's taking place. I think the public truly understands what's taking place as they drive around the community, and I ask anybody in the audience or anybody viewing this in the future, anybody looking at the public records, have you, with your own eyes, seen a reduction of 40 to 50% of homelessness here in the county? I don't think that's an accurate statement, and I think that's it's disingenuous and it's dangerous to tell the public you're getting things done when it doesn't really look like that. You can't fix the problem if you don't admit you have a problem. So that's my position on that. And then a couple more items. Over 14 months ago now, I first heard about the Dandini Spectrum development. Here we are 14 months later, and we still don't have this thing moving forward. When are we going to get to the bottom of this? Moving at the speed of government doesn't help anyone. I attended a function at UNR the other day, a luncheon, and one of the things that the EDON manager brought up, and Manager Brown was there, is there's a housing shortage here. The sooner we get more houses, the better off everyone's going to be. It'll stabilize the market. So that's some 440 workforce housing units that have been on the drawing board for several years, approved by the city of Reno, and the county can't seem to get this on the agenda and get it passed. I think this needs to be brought forward as soon as possible. EDON's looking into it now. They're going to look at the consequences of this, and others, the seniors are looking at it. There's just so many good things that can come out of this, and it's being held up for, again, the speed of government. So I think it's a disservice to the citizens here, and it's a disservice to the builders. So that's all my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Andriola. Oh, I'm sorry, I had you signed in. The only announcement that I have today is that we are going to move our presentations. We will hear items 6, 7, and then item 5. Any other commissioners have announcements or comments? I'm not seeing any. All right, we will move to item 6, Mr. Manager.
Item 6 is a presentation and update on FY 23-24 second quarter status report for the Washoe County Regional Detention Facility to include security of the jail, conditions of confinement, staffing, and medical care of inmates housed at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you very much. Welcome. We had the sheriff here today as well. Welcome, Sheriff Balaam.
Here, Sheriff Balaam for the record. Real quick before I turn it over to Captain Ben to give the stats. As you know, unfortunately, last quarter, we did have a completed suicide, first one since April of 2019. So just to give a commission update on that quarterly thing, that inmate was able to shimmy their sheet behind our light fixtures. In the 1 through 9 housing units, those light fixtures have been there since the facility was built. So we are currently walking through with CSD and contractors to see how we can do anti-ligature or redesign or correct those lighting fixtures. So just wanted to give the commission an update on that. We take those deaths that occur in the jail, we evaluate every one of them, and in this case, we're looking to see if we can fix that. On a positive note, last year we intervened in 1,146 attempted suicides or people that came forward and said they had suicidal ideation. So unfortunately, we had one. So I want to give the commission a heads up on that, and then I will turn over to Captain Ben for the other statistics.
Thank you for your work on proactively looking to fix that, Sheriff Balaam. Welcome.
Good morning. Captain Andy Venn for the record. Madam Chair, members of the commission, Manager Brown. I'm here to present the stats for the second quarter. Following the feedback we received last time, I presented the packet for your review on your own time. There's a lot of numbers in there. I thought our time would be better used to share a few bullet point stats you have of interest, and then give a presentation on a function of the jail you may or not be aware of. I'd like to cover real quick. Our average daily population is down 47 from quarter one. We average now 1,177 inmates daily. The average length of stay is up to 7.27 days, up from 7.07. That's within the margin of error given the disparate difference in our average daily population. We currently have 120 inmates on mental health segregation, which is 10.2% of our entire jail population, which is down from 15 to 16% 2 years ago before we began the aggressive realigning from the courts and Judge Walker and the Detention Services Unit. One of the interesting stats I wanted to bring to you that's not a positive, however, it's important that we're aware of it, both as elected officials, police officers, and the community. We have 977 male inmates currently in custody at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Detention Facility. 307 of those males are validated gang members. That means that 31.5% of our total male population in custody right now is a member of at least 25 gangs. When I was reviewing these stats, I stopped counting at 25. It goes on. So when we talk about the different housing, I would ask you to keep that in mind when we talk about the problems of housing certain inmates and the difference between bed space and available space. We have to keep in mind the different gangs and keeping them separate as one of our chief mandates. Based on the feedback we received last time about bringing the presentation we did, I'd like to introduce you to Chaplain Sharp. Come on up, Chaplain. He works in our programs division. He's currently the assistant chaplain under Chaplain Johnson, and he's in charge of our getting ahead while getting out program, which we've had tremendous success with. Hopefully I'm not stealing his final bullet statement, but we just had 60 male inmates that signed up for the classes, and we had to double the number of classes were available. With that, I don't want to take any more of his time. Sure. And following his presentation, if you have any questions at all, I'll still be available to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Appreciate it. Travis Sharp for the record. And so a pleasure to be here this morning to share some exciting things that's going on in the detention center. So since 2019, I've been teaching a class called Getting Ahead While Getting Out. First with the collaboration as I was an instructor at TMCC, and then now as a full-time chaplain in the facility. Getting Ahead While Getting Out, there we go. Getting Ahead While Getting Out was published in 2015. It was revised in 2021. The workbook that we use is an adaptation of the book Bridges Out of Poverty by Ruby K. Payne. Getting Ahead is used in every region in the United States, including some international sites, Canada, Slovakia, and some others I forgot. Getting Ahead facilitators, we meet on a regular basis, on a quarterly basis, to talk about success stories and best practices. Currently, there are five peer-reviewed published articles which highlight the evidence-informed nature of getting ahead. There are 3 more studies in progress, including I'm doing my own informal data gathering. This chart here is a study from Dr. Waller, which shows positive outcomes in mental health, self-efficacy, and overall functioning of graduates. Since April of 2021, 178 inmates have completed the Getting Ahead program at the Washoe County Detention Center. Of those graduates, only 12.4% have recidivated or have returned to our facility within the 1-year follow-up period. We see that there's a 44% national average. Nevada, we're doing a little bit better at 24.6%, but we see that the graduates of our program are doing quite well. This next slide is just to kind of point out that getting out of poverty isn't simply just pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, or simply getting a job. Getting ahead, we tackle big questions about poverty from a personal level as well as systemic issues. We see that there is a direct correlation between poverty and incarceration, and in Getting Ahead, we address recidivism through the lens of socioeconomic class. I ask the class questions like, what do you think are the causes of poverty in America? And we have great discussions about that. So instead of using the federal guidelines of income to define poverty, in our class we use this definition. We define poverty as the extent to which a person, or institution, or community does without resources. And using that definition, we're able to discuss bigger issues that are facing our community. There are many barriers to change. If you think about the issue of poverty, such as housing, mental health, or lack of resources, it's truly overwhelming. A lot is going on, and that's because the resources aren't there. Once something happens for a person, it's hard to stop other bad things from happening. When you're living in chaos, you aren't thinking about getting skills training, you're thinking about how am I going to get dinner. Living and tearing in the moment is about reacting and living to survive for today. In our class, we teach in a very different manner. It's Getting Ahead is different because students are recognized as problem solvers. Students' ideas and information are needed for the class to move on. No one decides for you or tells them what to do. No one decides for them or that what to do. Sorry, no one will do for you what they can do for themselves. No one will teach them; they do the learning. Some of the things that our students learn, our inmates learn, is this idea of future thinking, overcoming the tyranny of the moment, language and how to adapt language to a situation or setting. They learn time management skills, making SMART goals, and planning backwards. We see that investigators are also learning the importance of stability, building stability in their daily life. We talk about 11 resources, building social capital, managing the stages of change, analyzing and addressing the causes of poverty, and identifying financial traps. Our classes are very discussion-based learning, and most of what we talk about is through discussion. We create mental models. Each class is different, and they create a different mental model based on their life that they're experiencing in poverty today. We talk about the mental model of resources. These are 11 resources that the class looks at, and they give themselves a self-evaluation based on what they perceive as their strengths and weaknesses. And based off those self-evaluations, they build 3 plans. This is the main push of the class, is to build a 72-hour stability plan, a SMART plan, and a resource development plan that each student will complete before graduation. We have guest speakers. Recently, we've had a guest speaker address our class. He's a former graduate of Getting Ahead. He's currently a student at TMCC, and this year he'll be graduating with 2 associate's degrees. Before he graduated Getting Ahead, he had booked into our jail 19 times. Oh, wow. We also have community agencies such as TNCC and Join come to present information in our class. We have 4 graduations per year, and in each one of our graduations, the administration comes and congratulates our graduates for all the hard work they've been doing. My last slide here is simply this idea of what we're going to be doing moving forward, and we would love to expand this class because our graduates are working on reentry plans. They're working on stabilizing their life upon release. And so once they're released, the question that many of them have is, where am I going to get the support? And we do offer the many different avenues that our county provides, but they would like to learn more about these ideas of how to get out of poverty. And so we would love to build just a class, a weekly support group, kind of like an AA type of thing, that would provide support for our graduates after release. Thank you for your time.
Great. I had the privilege to come to one of these 2 of the graduations for a male class and a female class, and it was truly inspiring. And Chaplain Sharp, your work is incredible. We are so lucky to have you. So I know that I want to see how we can support your activities moving forward. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chaplain Sharp, that was amazing to hear. And thank you for taking the time to share these types of programs with us, for those of us that haven't had a chance to go see it in person. The recidivism rate is incredibly impressive compared to the national average. So congratulations on that. That's something that you can be very, very proud of. But I had a question. You said 178 inmates have completed since 2021. Can you talk to us about how many classes is the duration of the class itself? And then also, how do you recruit for those individuals to participate?
Thank you. Yes. So it's basically word of mouth. We do 4 classes per year. The major challenge with graduating my class is that because these are detainees, they're often awaiting a court date or a program or something like that, and I need to be better about how many have attended my class versus graduating, and that's a statistic I don't have for you today. But so many of our graduating groups are about half or even smaller than the class that I actually start. So the other way that we, advertise is through the tablets that are available for all the inmates at our facility. Yeah. Did I miss a question?
And then what's the recruitment? Is voluntary for the inmates?
Yes. Okay. So really, this class only works if you want it. and so we can't, I don't want to force it on anybody. Yeah.
Well, and you forgot, because I think there's also an early release with
Yes,
this program
that's
as
correct.
well.
So all of our graduates get a pizza party, which is actually quite fun. And then they do get a 5-day kick, they call it, release, if they complete the program and if the courts can apply it to their situation.
Right. And is there some sort of correlation with TMCC as well, or no?
So initially, that was the partnership that was started when I was employed with TMCC.
Okay.
And then currently, because I have a lot of connections still at TMCC, we, if they have within their SMART plans, if they want to pursue education, I definitely facilitate that connection with the Chad Venters over at TMCC, who does a reentry program.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Good to know.
Yeah.
Any other commissioners have comments or questions? I'm not seeing any. Well, let us know how we can support you. We kind of are already in the process of building our budget for this next fiscal year, but if there are specific asks you have, just shoot those over, and we'll see how we can get some sort of additional programming going for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you for your time.
And if I may, Commissioner Garcia, through the chair, when he talked about recruitment, the chaplain's often very humble. What we see is he assigns homework, and the inmates bring the homework back to their units that they live in, which is a strange concept in a detention setting, to have people voluntarily doing their homework. For those that have got to see the graduation, they talk about their life stories. When the inmates start opening up and talking to each other about their mutual experiences and the hardships that they faced, they bring that back to your unit. The classes he provides has an exponential benefit to those that aren't even going to the class, because it opens that conversation and it starts it. They're not talking about jail politics anymore. They're talking about the struggles they face on the outside. Chaplain Sharp's class is a viable, it's a crucial component to our overall strategy of connecting inmates with resources prior to having them get out of jail. That's the way we reduce recidivism and we better our community, is to have the plan in place, whether it's our veterans program, getting out while getting ahead, plans to go to TMCC. We put those resources in place, and your support and the support of our detention services unit has shown that it has a big impact to our community. I know I'm out of time, but I wanted to thank you again for all your support. Each commissioner has communicated with us individually. And if there's anything you'd like to know about the jail or for the next presentation, whether it's our detention response team, detention services unit, please let me know in advance and we'll have something for you.
Great. Thank you for your incredible work, and we look forward to continuing to support how we can, ensure that the folks in our jail have a future in our community. So,
Thank you,
any
Madam
other
Chair.
questions?
And a lot of that funding comes from the commissary fund, so they're able to reinvest in themselves the money they spend on commissary.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we will now move to item 7. Mr. Manager.
Item 7 is a presentation by Eric Crump, Operations Division Director, and Aaron Smith, Business Technologists 4, on the Community Services Department's Infrastructure Health Scorecard for road pavement, stormwater, parks and facilities, fleet, sewer collection, reclaimed water, and sewer treatment infrastructure. And they're with us this morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Chair and County Commissioners. For the record, I'm Eric Crump with Washoe County's Community Services Department. And with me today is Aaron Smith, our Business Technologist 4. He manages our Business Intelligence Program for the department. I want to thank you for the opportunity. We're very excited to share this most recent infrastructure preservation scorecard. I did want to point out, it appears that the hyperlinks in the agenda did not work, so you should have received hard copies of both the presentation and the scorecard itself. This scorecard is a tool that we developed several years ago. The tool is used around the country to illustrate the status of public infrastructure for various asset types by basically assigning a letter grade based on a variety of criteria. Some of you saw this scorecard during the strategic planning workshop that was held a few years ago, or a couple of years ago. But today we'll be providing an overview of our most recent scorecard based on some decisions and budget that was from last fiscal year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron Smith.
Welcome.
Thank you. For the record, Aaron Smith, Washoe County Community Services Department. My role is to connect decision makers with data, insight, and evidence so that we can make better decisions. Our work decreases the uncertainty we have about the infrastructure we own and operate and maintain for the citizens, what condition it's in, what risk it poses, and how best to plan for its future. 2 years ago, we developed the Infrastructure Health Scorecard with the idea of it improving infrastructure investment and service delivery for Washoe County's $2.8 billion worth of county assets. You've probably seen the state or national infrastructure scorecards developed by the American Society of Civil Engineering. We used the same methodology and applied it to Washoe County's infrastructure. This methodology breaks our asset classes into groups and scores it on objective benchmarks and metrics that grade the factors that influence service delivery. So like Eric said, 2 years ago, we developed this scorecard and we presented it to the board. Those factors that I discussed that influence service delivery are up at the top, highlighted in blue, and include things like capacity, condition, funding, future need, ownership and maintenance, public safety, resilience, and innovation. When we presented this 2 years ago, some of you may remember, what we heard was that service levels in parks and facilities weren't meeting expectations. The challenge was with funding infrastructure end-of-life renewals. And through a raise the grade effort and policy direction of this board, we were successful in moving the needle. So for the recent update, we see some changes. We see improvements to the grade. Capital funding is allowing to absorb a backlog of projects. These are things like failing roofs on buildings and outdated playgrounds. So in parks, you see the most recent scorecard, parks scores a C because of the improvement to short-term funding. The addition of maintenance staff and ranger staff, and also a new trails coordinator is helping absorb some of that deferred maintenance. In facilities, the grade is now a C+ with improvements to capacity, condition, funding, and future need. Specific projects like the Regional Public Safety Training Center got a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrade, as well as Jan Evans Juvenile Justice Center got fire suppression upgrades. Other grade improvements include our sewer treatment. We're in capacity with the expansion of South Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility, which increased the size of the plant by 48% and proactively addresses the region's need to a population year of 2040. Our maintenance staff takes a lot of pride in the work that they do. They continue to preserve the infrastructure that's existing and extend its useful life. Last year, our roads department completed 78 miles of stormwater ditch and pipe cleaning, more than 5 million square feet of pavement treatments, and plowed more than 100,000 miles of snow. In facilities, we completed almost 12,000 work orders in 2023, and in the second quarter of 2022, our customer satisfaction in facilities was 100%. In parks, they kept our 13,000 acres clean, safe, and open to the more than 8 million visitors that they receive. In equipment services, they reached an industry-leading 94% on-time planned maintenance rate. And in sewer collection, our crews absorbed a huge backlog of overdue pipe flushing from 49%, and it's now 8%. So in general, we should be proud to live in this county, and our infrastructure scores higher than average compared to state and national levels, with parks and stormwater being the exception. A trend that we've uncovered is that those asset classes that have dedicated ratepayer funding and well-defined levels of service tend to score higher. And then so those are highlighted in blue. Those are our fleet to our storm sewer and reclaim system. So to present on other areas for opportunities, I give you back to Eric Kremp.
Thank you, Aaron. For the balance of the presentation, we're going to focus a little more detail on some of the asset types that scored relatively low. As you just saw on the previous slide, actually I need to advance slide. As you just saw on the previous slide, those asset classes with dedicated sustainable funding sources score much better than those funds that either compete for general fund dollars like parks and facilities, or those where the funding source is not sustainable like roads and stormwater. The graph you see here is actually right out of our 2019 Regional Parks and Open Space Master Plan. The red line shows the park's actual budget before and after the Great Recession, with the National Recreation and Parks Association recommended budget for kind of like-size agencies shown on the dotted orange line. One of the key takeaways here is the impact of the aggregate budget gap over time compared to our population growth. Within parks, we've historically been very good at finding one-time dollars to either acquire new lands or build new facilities. But really, our challenges have been around securing funding for operation and maintenance. In our requests in the coming year and the past several years, we really have a focus on operational dollars. Turning over to roads, this table here shows the revenue and expenditures for the roads fund in the current fiscal year. The roads fund is funded primarily through fuel tax. Fuel tax represents over 70% of the revenue for the roads fund, and other sources include a $2.5 million transfer from the general fund and a $1.9 million transfer from capital facilities. For the current fiscal year, it is projected that expenses will outpace revenue by over $5 million. The sustainability of fuel tax to support the road maintenance is a challenge governmental agencies across the nation are facing. Though the solution to the problem might be complex, this graph here shows the basic problem. You can see with the dark blue line, that's the vehicle miles traveled throughout our state, and it continues to grow, while fuel tax is declining and not keeping pace. This decline in revenue is primarily due to electric vehicles and higher fuel-efficient vehicles. So while the fuel-efficient vehicles are certainly great from an environmental standpoint, the use and resultant wear on our roads is increasing without supporting fuel tax revenue. Washoe County currently maintains 740 lane miles of paved road. We use a pavement condition index, or a PCI, to score each section of pavement, and we have for many, many years. This information is then used to allocate pavement maintenance and preservation resources. These are things like crack sealing, patching, various types of surface treatments to extend the life of the roadway. The graph you see here shows the road dedications over time in blue. Though we extend the life of our roadways through our maintenance program, the pavement has a life cycle and will eventually need full reconstruction. As you might imagine, reconstruction cost is extremely costly. For comparison, the cost for a cape seal, which is something we do on an annual basis, is roughly a little less than $1 per square foot, where reconstruction costs are in excess of $6 per square foot. What's important to note here is half of the county roads were constructed more than 25 years ago. Utilizing the modeling methodology to keep our PCI around our current target of 73, we are projecting a funding gap of approximately $4.2 million in maintenance and $10.5 million in unfunded reconstruction costs. Turning over to drainage, this is the last asset type that we'll cover in the count. Currently, maintenance of the stormwater system is funded through and provided by the Roads Fund. The only exception to this is a small area in North Spanish Springs with the North Spanish Springs Flood Detention Facility, which is funded through a separate assessment by those who live in that area. As you can see, maintenance of our drainage infrastructure represents 25% of all the work we do within roads. Given the challenges in fuel tax funding that I covered earlier, there is a growing trend across the nation to fund stormwater maintenance through other sources. Over the last year or so, we have focused on gathering critical data associated with our drainage infrastructure. I'm going to turn it back over to Aaron to talk about the work they've done.
Thank you. Again, Aaron Smith for the record. Last year, we reached a major milestone in our stormwater maintenance program. We completed a stormwater inventory and condition assessment. That included looking at our storm pipes and looking for those things that impact their service delivery, which is mainly debris and pipe deterioration. So we're in a constant battle with Mother Nature, who's trying to fill our stormwater ditches and pipes with everything from sediment to shopping carts, and the deterioration of our metal and concrete assets. So if you look at the service levels that have previously occurred, and that same trend that we're seeing in roads with our stormwater assets being installed around the same time, we're seeing an increase in needs from our asset replacement side as well as a maintenance side. So our pipes are reaching the end of their useful life, and we're also seeing more intense localized stormwater events that's impacting sedimentation. So historic funding, historic service levels is shown in red here. That's reported from the road supervisors that 51% of the planned maintenance that they would like to do, only 51% of it is getting done. So because of this, we've implemented stormwater maintenance prioritization methods, which allows us to complete the highest value work, accomplish the more through work planning, predict with more certainty with what the future brings. So we're using the taxpayer dollars where it provides the most value, and we're using information to do that. So we're being proactive in addressing upstream issues while they're small and inexpensive before they become big and expensive. So we're changing how we're having to treat stormwater. So this is an area where we have an opportunity to use this scorecard and have a conversation around levels of service expectations, the willingness to fund those services, and what those funding mechanisms should be. So to wrap us up, I'll give you back to Eric Crump. Thank you.
I know we covered a lot in a short amount of time, but I also wanted to point out that a copy of the full scorecard has been provided to you. It includes descriptions of each of the asset types, the criteria that we use to evaluate, and then some important facts. Also, we focused on some of our bigger challenges we are facing, but it's really important to know that the overall scores for the county infrastructure compared to the state and the nation are very good, and you can see that in the graph on page 3 of the scorecard. I'm proud to say that our department and our budget is utilizing this information to make data-driven decisions. And as policymakers, it's our hope that this tool provides you some of the information you need to make policy decisions. And with that, Aaron and I would be available for any questions.
Thank you so much. I have questions, but I'm going to throw it over to Vice Chair Herman to begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It just appears to me that with all our new construction, that infrastructure should be benefited by funding from developers. I think they need to start participating because we're getting behind. I think that's
yes.
about, yes, please.
Sure, if I may. Yeah, it's an interesting scenario. You often hear development pays for development, and they do to a certain extent. When developments come in, they put the infrastructure in, they pay for that. They build the roads, the sidewalks, the sewer, that type of thing. So they pay for the initial investment. And then in theory, taxes are what should cover that ongoing operation and maintenance. And it has for a considerable amount of time. But then you reach end of life cycles for some very, very large infrastructure that was costly to put in and borne primarily by the developers. And that's really where we find ourselves. And, it's no different across the nation, just trying to find alternative sources to fund these types of things.
Any other board members? Commissioner Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Vice Chair Herman that there's a lot of new construction out there. Should be some availability of funds for some certain projects. But I find I'm looking at facilities here on your presentation, and operation and maintenance, we've got a D-, and I find that troubling off your sheet here.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, but roofs and maintaining these buildings are owned by the public, and we need to make sure that roofs don't leak, and more damage is done by water to real estate and improvements than by fire. I mean, it's just a national, it's known, and so protecting the assets is where I'm concerned. Make sure that we don't have leaky buildings. Mold issues, those types of things. So at the very least, I think we need to make sure that the roofs are maintained on all county facilities. You know, we might be able to limp along with a pothole or two, but we just can't get by with leaky roof. So that's an area of concern for me is the properties owned by the counties. And rated with a D-, I think we need to make some adjustments to that and find out how we can help you get to a level of where we get at least a C grade out of this. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I appreciate that. Through the chair, Commissioner Clark, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, the use of this scorecard has really brought those things to light. Facilities is one of those that does compete for general fund. We've come a long way in terms of funding and for primarily capital. But it is this tool and these discussions that we benefit from looking at the scorecard, and I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking at the slide that has the parks with the projection based on population, and that slide kind of says it all for me that we're growing as a region. As we saw in our master plan that we just recently adopted, parks and open space trails, all of that recreation was an incredible asset that our constituents love and our economy benefits from. And so I just think every dollar that we can put into parks is a dollar well spent. It increases tourism, it increases health and wellness. There's just so many benefits overall to our constituents and our community as a whole. Can you give us a little bit of an update? I know when you put parks and stormwater next to each other, I mean, one kind of rises to the top in terms of, at least for me, but they're so important, both of them. And I think both of them are such regional issues. Can you talk to us a little bit about maybe some movement in a regional conversation in regards to parks? I know we've discussed one on the Parks Commission, but the other for stormwater, what maybe our other local jurisdictions are talking or doing. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, Commissioner Garcia. So I believe in the 2017 legislature, the formation of park districts was allowed in NRS. So there was enabling legislation that allowed governmental entities to create park districts. We have been working with a group of former park employees who are very dedicated and very enthusiastic about potentially bringing a park district to this area. We've engaged with our respective park commission, both City of Sparks, City of Reno, and Washoe County. All three park commissions have agreed this is something we need to look into. It starts with a service plan, and we anticipate bringing something to this board with regards to a regional service plan and regional funding to kind of evaluate the potential feasibility of a park district in this calendar year. With regards to stormwater, there is some movement I mentioned earlier across the nation to fund stormwater through alternative methods. We are currently using fuel tax, which, as you can see from the roads fund, it's not a sustainable source. We have a very good example of how we could potentially fund stormwater through a stormwater utility up in North Spanish Springs. There is a hydro basin up there. Everybody who lives in kind of the contributing area and benefits from that stormwater pays a monthly assessment for that. So that is something that we could look at for the balance of the county. The City of Reno is doing something very similar, and they're looking into a stormwater utility as well.
Madam Chair. Yes, Commissioner Andriola.
I had brought this up several times, including the October 24th strategic planning meeting, and I think it really hit home when I read your report of a 15% decrease and a 26% growth. So there's definitely a negative there. And so I think looking at continuing moving in the direction in terms of regionalizing and having those discussions with sewer and wastewater treatment facilities is something that may create efficiencies so that we can, utilize the dollars in the best way we can, and having all the jurisdictions come to the table. So I'm looking forward to those discussions, and hopefully that may actually be a situation that can address this in bigger ways. So I'm bringing it up again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that this board obviously is showing an interest of hearing from staff options on additional revenues for our roads, our parks, our stormwater, and also from Commissioner Clark, our building maintenance. So if that could be a follow-up, perhaps something that we do as part of a discussion of the budget build, or even, something we do in a future retreat, it's certainly something we need to look at, since our tax policies are so difficult for local governments for property tax depreciating and being capped. So knowing all of that and figuring out ways that we can also better serve our community, I think that's some of the things that we'd like to see moving forward.
Great.
Any other board comments or questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank you so much for your time and great work, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It's great to see that we're moving up in our scores, and we'll continue to work towards that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, we will now move to item 5.
Item 5 is a presentation by Judge Kendra Birchie, Justice of the Peace Department 2, to provide an overview of the Reno Justice Court, specialty courts, and recognize graduates from the program across Washoe County.
Welcome. I've been excited for this presentation.
Good morning, Chair Hill, Vice Chair Herman, and members of the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners and Manager Brown. My name is Kendra Birchie for the record, and I am a Justice of the Peace with the Reno Justice Court. Thank you all for this opportunity to honor the 39 graduates who graduated in 2023 from the Reno Justice Court Specialty Courts. Our graduates truly embody the saying, when one person rises out of substance use and crime, we all rise. Before I turn to our graduates who are here today, I will provide some information about our specialty courts to explain how impressive these graduates, your constituents, are for what they have done to successfully graduate from these therapeutic programs. Most of the participants in specialty courts are individuals who've been sentenced to a misdemeanor crime. As sentencing, the options are a fine, incarceration, probation, or requiring someone to complete a specialty court. Specialty courts are evidence-based, problem-solving courts that provide additional enhanced judicial oversight while individuals are engaged in evidence-based treatments to address substance use, alcohol, or mental health issues. These rigorous courts begin with weekly judicial oversight, daily illegal substance and alcohol testing, law enforcement supervision, and individualized counseling and/or treatment based on their specific needs. The length of the program depends on the individual, with a minimum of 12 months. These courts have been determined to be extremely powerful and effective tools available to address mental health and the drug crisis. In Reno Justice Court, we currently have 3 therapeutic dockets: GT or Get To Young Offender Drug Court, the Community Court Diversion Court, along with the Court Assistance Program, which is a co-occurring disorder court for mental health as well as substance abuse issues, and our DUI-specific court. These courts serve the high-risk, high-needs participants with the aim at breaking the cycle of addiction, restoring pro-social behavior, and addressing mental health and behavioral needs. Over the years, these courts have also included a focus on commercial exploitation, women in need, domestic violence compliance courts as well. Through positive change, participants have been able to reunite with families, provide services to the community, engage in educational endeavors, and obtain sustainable employment. Basically, specialty courts enhance community safety, save money, and save lives. According to a recent study published by Roshini Agrawal in 2022, specialty courts nationally reduce recidivism by 35 to 40%, which means that if a participant of a specialty court, even if they don't successfully graduate, they're less likely to re-engage in criminal activity. Our own studies in Nevada have shown that our specialty courts do extremely well, with the most recent data from our population of participants in 2018 indicating that from Cap Court, 97% of participants who successfully graduated did not come back within the 3 years and commit another offense. So they remained crime-free for at least those 3 years. Besides the participants of this court, our programs involve a team that is comprised of members of the judiciary, including myself, Judge Scott Pearson, and Chief Judge Ryan Sullivan. The Washoe County Department of Alternative Services, alternative sentencing. With us here today are two extremely dedicated members of their team, Officer Mark Wickman and Annie Fabian, who are responsible for supervising and ensuring the compliance of all of our participants. In 2023, Reno Justice Court had 260 active participants. The Washoe County District Attorney's Office, the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, service treatment providers, including Craig Merrill, staff members of the Reno Justice Court, to include our own incredible court clerks, and our specialty court case coordinator, Dr. Loyan, a case manager, Liz, under the supervision of Jeremy Wilson and James Conway. Fiscally speaking, studies have shown that for every $1 invested in drug courts, taxpayers save as much as $3.36 in avoided criminal justice costs. When considering other offsets such as reduced victimization and healthcare service utilization, studies have shown benefits range from up to $27 for every $1 invested. Now, the most important people in the specialty courts are, of course, the participants. Our participants come from nearly every walk of life. We have young offenders ages 18 to 26 to seniors, all with diverse backgrounds. Each of our graduates have risen to the challenge and overcome extreme adversity during their program. At this time, it is my honor to invite the impressive graduates who are here today representing those 39 graduates so that you can hear directly from them in their own words about how these courts have changed their lives. So this time I'd like to welcome Michael Laird, Raquel Casares, as well as we'll hear words from Chris Gary.
Hello, my name is Michael Laird, for the record. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. What I would say is specialty court changed my life. I was a mess for most of my life as a young teenager, all the way through my 20s and into my late 20s. I was in countless rehabs, countless programs, mental health facilities, anything you could think of, any medication you could be on, any place you could be for addiction, I had been there. Nothing ever worked for me, though. No matter how long I had clean, no matter what I did, the structure was never there. For me, CapCourt gave me the ability to have structure in my life and to help me with that hardest step of recovery, which I believe is transitioning. Most people can get clean if you lock them in a room. Mm-hmm. Transitioning and changing your life is really what changes things. And for me, CapCourt was the first time I ever had anything in my life work like that. I want to thank my mother, Angela Laird, for being such a huge support. I want to thank my family. I want to thank Judge Pearson for being probably one of the best judges I've ever met in my life. I want to thank Officer Wickman for making sure, that I was not causing any extra trouble out in the community. And I just want to thank all of you guys for having CapCourt and having this program and giving people like me and the rest of my community the ability to get clean and live a better life. Thank you.
Wow, congratulations. What a great accomplishment.
For the record, my name is Raquel Casares. I guess just to start off, I've struggled with a long time drug history. When I came to CapCourt, I had originally got in trouble for some stuff. I was on a downward spiral destruction lifestyle. When I came into CapCourt, Officer Wickman had I don't know, how do I explain it? He had an enthusiasm in me, which I hadn't had from anybody in a really long time. I was lost and I was broken and I was ready to just completely give up. But the encouragement from Officer Wickman and Annie, right, helped me to strive a little bit further and motivated me. It lit a fire underneath me. Through the CapCourt, helping me to be accountable. how do I say? I don't even know what to say here. I'm so sorry. I'm so nervous.
You're
right
doing
now.
great. You're doing great.
It helped me it motivated me to get into a program. Originally, I was only court ordered to get into an outpatient program, which was just doing counseling once a week, but I knew that was not enough considering my history. So what I had done was I had checked myself into a treatment program, from one treatment program to another, because I knew that short-term treatment was not going to be enough for me. So I ended up, in the long run, in 4 different programs for 14 months altogether. I completed the CAP program, and in that time that I completed that program, I was able to get employed in a treatment facility, Bristlecone. I was able to get my PRSS certification, and now I'm moving forward into Crossroads program as a community support staff. I've done a lot of great things in this last couple years, and if it wasn't because of CAP Court, Judge Sullivan, Officer Wickman, and all the staff that's a part of this program, I would not have been able to attain any of these successes. For that, I'm extremely grateful. I wanted to read something really quick. It's a quote by Wes Angelosi. It says, "Go and love someone exactly as they are, and then watch how quickly they transform into the greatest, truest version of themselves. When one feels seen and appreciated in their own essence, one is instantly empowered." This is exactly how I felt with these people who encouraged me and supported me through my journey. And because of that, I'm extremely grateful. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful. And you're an employee of Washoe County. How cool is that? Congratulations.
Good morning. I'm Officer Wickman with Alternative Sensing, for the record, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Chris Gary today. I just talked to him. He gave me permission to speak, read his letter. He is at work. He thought the date was next week, so he wanted to apologize to you. But he was an amazing young man. He had a heroin addiction, and he was one that one in the community would absolutely judge. He has a shaved head. He has tattoos on his face, neck, everywhere on his body. It's one of those guys that you would judge in the community and not take a chance on. But we saw the light in this young man. And this gentleman is a very good writer. And he is very confident. He's working really hard right now. So 1 year ago, I was a month into this program and stopped showing up for court, testing myself. I had a warrant for my arrest, and I finally wrote a letter. It was 7 pages of spite, anger, mistrust, and pain. I gave my history, my justifications for not being in this program. I turned the spotlight to all these around me. Surprisingly, all the anger, concerns, and mistrust were met with exceedingly unexpected reassurance of caring. Not only was my message heard, but also felt, and it was palpable. I was not arrested, and I was kept into the program, more or less, as I was put more of myself into it. I saw more come out of it. Most importantly, most shockingly to me, was each and every person in this program take the spotlight I had turned on them and let it sink in. I saw everyone in this court operate just a little differently and take a little more care for the unknown, but it was for my biggest point, if I can remember properly, due to the fact Judge Pearson actually asked to keep my letter for himself. He personally to remember what I had said was that I cannot recite the success of everyone in here by numbers or statistics, that each person in here have reasons and battles that have put them in here in the first place. Since that day, I have seen Judge Pearson, most of all, continue to take care of that fact. I have seen more listening and more caring in his response to people's problems. I've seen him offer more solutions to everyone, not just in the program, services, or actions to take to be successful, but solutions to how we are taking into support for our general mindset. If a man of this stature can let his guard down and still, after all the years of his career, continue to hear and grow along with others, I could not ask for a better inspiration to get better. Getting better, however, is actually, I'm going to skip that part. The biggest part is sometimes the greatest faith we can have in ourselves is to put our faith in others, to allow ourselves to be guided and trust that our own individuality and character will still shine through while taking a path we are not accustomed to take on responsibility to act accordingly to the will of others. In so doing so, at troubling times in our lives, we can find out that our decisions stem from comfortability and complacency, and what decisions contradict are our true future. More than that is why. When you can push past the fear of losing yourself, it is possible to find a piece of ourselves that we thought we had lost and that we thought has never been there. Maybe we can even let go of our division, of our vision of ourselves that we hold in purely in defense of our past struggles and self that is consistently stuck in a mode of survival rather than living. I'm grateful that the people in this intending program, some of them people I could trust to put my faith into, and thereby find the immovable faith in myself, which is also sort of terrifying. So basically, we ask our graduates in Judge Pearson Court to write a graduation letter, and this is part of his graduation letter that he provided. So again, he apologizes, but he is a success as of today. He is still working hard. So
That's wonderful.
He's a productive member of our society.
Thank you for your work and for reading that.
Kendra Birchie again, for the record. Just to close, I want to thank all the members of this commission for supporting our programs, for supporting the Reno Justice Court, the Department of Alternative Sentencing, to allow us to have these programs to help these individuals, your constituents. With that, thank you so much for this opportunity to honor those amazing graduates of our programs.
Thank you for your hard work, Judge Burschke, and thank you for bringing this to the board. So congratulations. I'm looking to the board to see if there's any comments or questions for the judge. I'm not seeing any. Let's do a quick photo and then we'll go back to donations.
Yeah, you can come in. On the left. There you go.
All right. Might have you. No. Okay, yep, that'll work. All right, 1, 2, 3. Let's do a couple so nobody's blinking. Okay, thank you.
Congratulations. Keep up the good work. All right.
How come you don't have to go down there?
Okay, We will now move into item 8, donations. Commissioner Garcia, do you mind reading those into the record for us?
Of course. Let me
Thank
find
you.
the spot on the agenda. Okay, so we've got 3 agenda items for donations, and we've got a very diverse group of donors today. I just wanted to give them a shout out to James Leahy Jr. Trust, Reno Toy Run, Brianne Chiarlo, NV Energy, Sparks Fire and Police, Napa Sonoma, Martin Ironworks, Second Baptist Church, Carolyn Misumi, James Bell, Scott and Lisa Forsman, and Vanguard. So thank you so much for your generous contributions.
Absolutely. And is that a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. There is a motion for the donations. Do we have a second? Thank you, Vice Chair Herman. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on the donations?
There is not.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Garcia, a second by Vice Chair Herman. Any questions by the board? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And I think that, oh, there it is on your screen. All right, that motion passes unanimously. We will now move into our consent items. And I am looking to the board to see if commissioners want to pull any items for discussion or questions. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to pull item 9E1 and 9E2, please.
9E1 and 9E2. Okay. Any other commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to be careful, my sibling does work for snow removal, so this is in relation to 9D1. This license is strictly operational, has no impact on his salary or position, so I'll be voting on this item. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So I am looking for a motion to approve the consent minus 9E1 and 9E2.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. Looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Any questions on that? Madam Clerk, any public comment?
Yes, we do have public comment.
Okay.
First, we have Catherine Yarty, followed by Edward Estepona.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Yarte, for the record. I'm commenting on item 9E3. I run Team Yarte Horsemanship with my husband, Daniel. We are a well-established state-licensed business that has been operational since 2016. Our modest program includes full care training and boarding for up to 14 horses, 5 lessons or visitors per week, and 6 annual educational events. I want to thank you for prioritizing the importance of equine businesses and recognizing their valuable contribution to the economy. From small boarding facilities to nationally recognized show barns, the diverse nature of the equine industry in Washoe County cannot be overstated. We began our journey to obtain a Washoe County business license and special use permit in late August. The special use permit process is arduous and expensive. I've spent well over 80 hours preparing just for our Board of Adjustments hearing and have put countless hours in since then. We've spent thousands of dollars in application fees and improvements to comply, and as of today, even though our SUP was approved in December on the 7th, we still do not have a county business license because there are still more hoops to jump through. And to speak frankly, it seems never ending. With this experience, I ask that the board include equine business owners directly with the process of changing the code surrounding commercial stables. It is imperative that those who manage equine businesses on a day-to-day basis are included so that the code changes will reflect the unique challenges presented by horse behavior and safety requirements. The business models vary greatly from small hobby boarding facilities to large professional training and show barns, so there should be representation from across the board. Having one person collecting and communicating the views of the equestrian community is insufficient to obtain a complete picture of the problem and the potential solutions. The reality is that most, if not all, building and development planners do not have a background in stable management. Therefore, they are not equipped to write codes that reflect the challenges and the opportunities that it presents. I would welcome the opportunity to attend stakeholder meetings or even organize a work group of equine business owners and lay people who are affected by equine businesses to work with the planning department to ensure the codes governing commercial stables are enforceable, sustainable, and most importantly, safe for horse owners and the residents of Washoe County. We really want this to be something that does not waste any more of your time having to hear us come back over and over requesting the same waivers. So we just thank you again for getting it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the other two speakers are for an item that was pulled out of consent.
Okay. All right. With a motion and a second, any questions on the motion for consent minus 9E1 and 9E2? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes. Thank you. We will now move to 9E1. Commissioner Clark, you had pulled this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, 9E1. I'd like to see, if it's possible, to have a presentation from Truckee Meadows tomorrow to come and make a presentation to the board before we vote on this.
I think we have staff here, but, and I see that they are signed in for public comment. So perhaps, would you like to hear from them during public comment?
I'd just like more information from Truckee Meadows tomorrow and about this.
Okay.
Or staff as well, either one. Yeah.
Well, then I'll open, if there's no other commissioner comments or questions, I'll open it up to public comment, then we'll go back to staff. Thank you, Gabrielle. Madam Clerk.
Edward Estenopa.
Edward Estepona for the record. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the commission. Today I'm here to talk about the consent item 9E1, a community support resolution and grant agreement for Truckee Meadows Tomorrow, better known as TMT. As the 2024 president of board of TMT, I wanted to thank you for your consideration in supporting. Our organization also share a little background of TMT. For more than 30 years, TMT has been Northern Nevada's hub of quality life data. We are an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are a trusted community data resource. We are nonpartisan and unbiased. Our number one priority is always maintaining the validity and reliability of our data and then making it accessible to the community so that leaders such as yourselves can use data to inform decisions that will improve quality of life and community well-being. So the 5 core areas that TMT handles is first, we provide free access to data via our community data portal, Nevada Tomorrow. Second, we produce a biennial community progress report. We will be publishing this report this coming September for this year. Third, we are a key partner of Washoe County's community health needs assessment. And fourth, we offer a fee-for-service work developing custom data dashboards and research-based presentations for community partners. And finally, fifth, our newest addition and initiative in your consent agenda today, we will be doing data and impact storytelling starting this year. So this is my second time serving on the TMT board. I first served on the board about 25 years ago when Lynn Atchison was shepherding the creation of an organization that would measure our community's quality of life indicators. While times have changed, our value to the community hasn't. We continue to work with the community and various stakeholders to provide data that will help them make informed decisions. I am excited for the future of our organization and plans for data and impact storytelling. I'll let Kylie Rowe, our executive director, share more on the goals of the grant you have in consent for your agenda today. I want to thank you for your time and service and consideration.
Kylie Rowe.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Commission, Manager Brown. My name is Kylie Rowe. I'm the Executive Director of Truckee Meadows Tomorrow. I'm a constituent of District 1, represented by Commissioner Hill. Today, I'm here to add to what my board president, Edward Estepona, shared related to consent item 9E1. When I first started this position, I met with 100 people in 90 days. I heard from our board, from partners, from community leaders. I asked everyone the same questions. I really wanted to understand the needs of the community and where TMT could fill a gap. This process allowed me to quickly collect information and take action. The number one thing that I heard in this listening tour is that TMT has so much data, but more people need to know that it exists. And secondly, we need to increase our awareness and do data storytelling. We've built a shared vision for this work, and with your prospective support today, we'll be able to announce a public, private, and social partnership between Washoe County, Silver Summit Health Plan, and TMT to support our initiative in community data and impact storytelling. This would not be possible without staff member Gabrielle Einfield. She's been a pleasure to work with, and I'm truly excited for all of the prospective work we'll be able to accomplish together this year. The purpose of this project is to engage with the community in more meaningful ways. We want to provide data visualizations, informatics, infographics, and narrative impact storytelling. This work will empower our community to make more informed, data-driven decisions. The specific goals of the initiative are threefold. First, we'll become an expert in data and impact storytelling. TMT will provide visualizations paired with narrative. We'll highlight trends, we'll make data-driven insights more meaningful, and the funding generated through this grant, supported prospectively by you today, will support us to add a new staff member to our team. We're currently in the final rounds of interviews for our new data architect and storyteller. Second, TMT will maintain valid data in our community portal, Nevada Tomorrow. We are in the process of developing a TMT data advisory group. We're calling it the DAG. I'm excited to brand that thing. This will consist of public, private, and nonprofit data experts that have a knowledge in at least one of our 10 core indicator areas. Third, we'll increase organizational awareness. We'll expand to a wider audience, target change makers, leaders like yourselves, to use this data to inform decisions, improve quality of life, and overall community well-being. I really appreciate your consideration. With your approval on this consent today, we'll walk into 2024 with $125,000 supporting community data and impact storytelling. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Enfield, do you want to come up just to address any of Commissioner Clark's questions? Commissioner Clark?
Thank you. I'd just like to hear a little bit more from you about this particular award.
Okay. For the record, Gabrielle Enfield, Community Reinvestment Manager. This grant came about through part of our process with community reinvestment, looking at what is our part of our strategic goals towards increasing capacity of nonprofits throughout the community. And one area is data and performance measures. So in discussions with Truckee Meadows Tomorrow, they're our leading community nonprofit related to performance measures and data. We identified this potential project. We also, we have many projects that we have underway right now that we want to better be able to identify and tell the story of the success of our state and local fiscal recovery projects. And this grant will allow us to work with data storytelling and be able to make the success and outcomes of those projects more accessible to everyone, to the public and to other stakeholders.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark?
Thank you.
Okay. With that, are you prepared to make a motion on this item, Commissioner Clark, or?
I just wanted more information. I'm not prepared to make a motion on
Okay.
it now.
Any other commissioners? Questions or prepared to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Looking for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay, that motion passes 3-2. We will now move to item 9E2. Commissioner Clark.
92, I'm questioning the use of opioid funds for this. I don't know how long the opioid funds will be available. Is there a time frame on this? How are we going to fund this position when the opioid funds are no longer available? So those are my questions.
Welcome, Ms. Enfield.
Thank you. For the record, Gabrielle Enfield, Community Reinvestment Manager. The opioid funds that we're receiving are the settlement funds, and there is a timeline plan for the receipt of those funds from the entities that have been a party to those settlements. Right now, it's identified that Washoe County will receive these funds over the next 20 years. So it's a very long horizon for those funding revenue that'll support the staff to be able to implement and distribute and manage the opioid settlement funds that we will continue to receive.
Very well. Just maybe I think differently than lots of other folks, but when the county hires somebody, I have the potential that, in my mind, that they might be here for 30 years. They might live another 30 years after that. So now we've got, a long time expense of salaries and benefits and retirement. So 20 years of receiving the funds, but yet somebody has a potential of being here longer. Those are my concerns. Is using one time or 20-year only time of money as to hire people and to implement it this way, I just don't know how it sustains itself. We just had a presentation from about facilities needing more money and roads needing more money and all kinds of things needing more money. But what happens when we fund for 20 years with the opioid funds, and then after that, that money dries up? So those are just concerns that I have on not just this, but any issue. This money isn't available forever. This is not ongoing. 20 years, that sounds like a long time to me, but, for somebody who's 20 years old, 20 years is not a long time. So just something I wanted to get on the record. Thank you.
Ms. Enfield, when we hire this type of position, do we let folks know that it's a grant-funded position?
Absolutely. Anytime a grant-funded position is hired, it's identified in the offer letter to the employee and identifying to them those the timeline for those funds.
Great, thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Garcia?
Follow
up. Go ahead. After Commissioner Garcia. After Commissioner Garcia. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. On another note, I think this is a really critical position as we embark on a pretty significant mental health journey as a region, and I think having this key person in place to help oversee this is going to be a huge asset to that forward movement in addressing root causes of homelessness and some of the other issues we're facing here in our community. So I'm very excited about this position, so thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark.
So not to pick on this, and just to clarify in my thinking, when we hire somebody who's hired because of a grant or this type of funding, and you notify them of that, they're still county employees, though, right? And so they still have benefits and so forth, and towards retirement or paying into PERS. So how does that work if the funding dries up? Do you just give the person their notice that they have to leave? Yeah, well, just clarify my thinking for this and other projects in the future. Thank you.
Again, for the record, Gabrielle Enfield, Community Reinvestment Manager. Yes, when we hire someone as an employee on a grant-funded project, they are a full-time employee with benefits and PERS, et cetera. They become an employee of Washoe County. We have a plan as far as what will happen if that position goes away, if it's no longer needed. Either that would be part of their plan, or if the position is something that's needed, it would be requested through the budget process. Like any other additional position, there's no guarantee, and we say this whenever we do any grant funding, when we start a position, that there's no guarantee that their funding will be continued.
So maybe you don't have this available, maybe somebody from HR could address this, but how often has that happened where we've hired somebody, the money goes, dries up for lack of a better word, and then those folks are let go? It's been my experience here in the county that at that point in time, there's always some type of a workaround where that person gets to stay on with something else. So I just wanted to find out if there's ever been anybody, and if so, how many that funding dried up that were actually let go. Is that, can somebody find that out? And I'm not expecting you're not HR, but I'm asking the staff to relay that to HR, and I'd like to see how often that's ever happened. It's been my experience when somebody's on board, they're on board. And even though you might have that clause in there, I'd just like to see if it's actually ever happened. Thank you.
For the record, Gabrielle Enfield, you're right, I don't have that statistics, but we do know that oftentimes when we hire staff with grant funding, what we're able to do is to pilot a project or a program to identify whether it's successful and meeting our needs, and then that employee might become a full-time position funded by the general fund based on the need of the work that they're doing.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to, I know you don't have those statistics at your fingertips, but I'd like to find out if anybody's ever been let go, terminated, not kept on the payroll because of lack of funding, because the funding dried up. Just a question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk, can we open it up to public comment?
Yes, ma'am. We have Penny Brock.
Penny Brock, for the record, please put my comments in the record per NRS. First, I would like to thank Commissioner Herman and Commissioner Clark for voting no on the previous agenda item. On this agenda item, I continually hear about the grant money. The grant money is to come in to help certain population. My concern is the grant money comes in, it starts to go for salaries. I recall a while back, there was grant money that came in specifically for low-income children and their mothers. A huge amount of that grant money went to staff, went to salaries. That's wrong. So here we are, we're getting the opioid money, and we know this is a huge issue in our county. And yet, here they are, starting to build staff for this particular grant. My question as a taxpayer is, how many grant writers does Washoe County have? How many? We never hear about that. Taxpayers would like to know, how many grant writers does the county employ? My question is, how do you know you're going to need a separate grant writer? That can't be that difficult of a position that another grant writer couldn't handle. So I would ask the commissioners to vote no on this new staff person. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's nobody else signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, any other commissioner comments or questions? I'm not seeing any. I'm looking for a motion on item.
Madam Chair?
Thank you.
I move to approve the creation of one new full-time grants and community program analyst as outlined in the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Looking for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes 4-1. Okay, we are done with our consent. We'll now move into the rest of our items. I am wondering if our Vice Chair Herman has a block vote for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do, but I'd like to mention item 11 and of these four, and just hoping and praying that this will increase the quality of the meals that come to the folks. It should. So the block numbers are block 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Okay.
That's a motion.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Looking for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Andriolo. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment on any of these items.
Okay, I didn't see any. Thank you. Any questions? We have a motion and a second on block 10, 11, 12, and 13. Any questions on that?
No
Yes.
questions, Madam Chair. I just wanted to express my thanks and gratitude for the Side Hill Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project. I'm really pleased that that's going to be coming to fruition. The constituents out in Sun Valley desperately need these improvements and this investment in infrastructure, and I'm very grateful for our partners at the Sun Valley GID and everybody in our grants program, so thank you.
Yes, and thank you for your advocacy for your district. So with a motion and a second, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes 4-1. All right. We are now going to move to item 14. And I think this is a first reading. So Madam Clerk, if you could help us with this.
This will be bill number 1901, an ordinance amending Washoe County Code, Chapter 110, Development Code, Article 220, Tahoe Area, Section 110.220.275, Wood Creek Regulatory Zone, to add schools, kindergarten through secondary use as a type, use type as permitted use, subject to a special use permit on those parcels in equal size to or greater than 3 acres within the Tahoe Wood Creek Regulatory Zone, and all matters necessarily connected therewith and pertaining thereto.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, I think, does the board want to see a brief staff report on this item, or do you feel like you have enough information from reading? Okay, any other board members want to see a staff report? Okay, it's pretty clear. All right, well, with that, if there's no board questions, specific questions, we can move to public comment. So let's do that, Madam Clerk.
We have quite a few, so please queue up if you're the second name called. First, we have Annabelle Cordoba Sosa. Is there an Annabelle here? Aaron Harding.
Good afternoon, Aaron Harding for the record. As a homeowner and a parent living in Incline Village, my family and I wholeheartedly support and agree with Incline Village needing the St. Clair School at St. Francis to provide faith-based education to the community's education and population. Incline Village offers no other faith-based K-8 or K-12 schools, forcing residents to travel over 25 to 40 miles to receive a faith-based education. St. Clair's Montessori provides a premier education to fill our community's fundamental faith-based educational needs, and I support amending the Washoe County Code as described.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will Phillips, followed by Donald Farrell.
Good afternoon. I'm Don Farrell. I'm an elder of the Village Church, and I'm here to support the proposal. I'm going to make 2 points, one of which the previous speaker already made. The first one is that for people who want a faith-based education, the North Shore of Tahoe offers nothing. And now there are 2 proposals, both in the same district, both by churches, the Catholic Church and ours. The second one is another point, which is that the 2 church sites in question are really the only practical opportunity to provide this kind of an education. And I'll talk about that in a minute. As to the first point, for parents who want to found their kids' education on faith, it's fundamental to them. It's not really an option. And you heard it, I think. That man, Mr. Aaron, I don't know his full name, was willing to drive 25 and 30 miles to achieve that. The alternative really isn't public schools, it's homeschooling. It's not a Colgate versus Crest kind of a choice. So the reason is, in my experience, just as parents want to instill good study habits in their kids, they want to give them prayer habits. They want to give them education and humility and love, gratitude, and service. These really can only happen with a daily regimen. You can't do this around only the dinner table, even though parents do, and also Sunday morning. It needs to be daily focus. Public schools can't do this. I mean, it's kind of statute. Look how controversial it is to include the word God in the Pledge of Allegiance, for example. So it has to be done in a faith-based environment. And that's what we're proposing to do. Now, in the second point, we are really the only two locations where it's practical to start a new school in Incline Village. Our church has poured and invested over the past number of years really millions of dollars in building a facility and grounds to provide a preschool that we hope to grow, and now the facilities, the classrooms for a grade school that we propose to start. We make this as a gift to the community. Our tuition at the preschool, and it will be for the Christian Academy, charges no rent. There is no capital recovery for these invested funds. It's a gift to the people in the community who want a faith-based education. Our tuition covers only out-of-pocket expenses, things like salary and supplies and custodians, and it's the reason our tuition is low. It's about 1/3 of a standard private school tuition. So those are my 2 points. We're the only two institutions that offer this opportunity to parents who want it. They won't go to the public schools if they don't take it. And to make it low, we're the only 2 sites in town that make it possible to do this at this low cost. It's pretty simple. Thanks.
Thank you. Will Phillips. Timothy Gilbert. Followed by Joe Farrell.
Tim Gilbert with the Village Church. Thank you, Board, for the work that you do. My comments are less technical and a little more passionate. We are doing this because we want kids to grow up with the knowledge of Jesus Christ. And they're not allowed to do that in some other venues, and we are allowed to do that. So I would move that this small, very, very small portion of the regulatory zone, that this amendment be approved so that we can have school at the 2 churches. The churches exist at the edge of the regulatory zone. And while I want to be concerned about all the comments of the neighbors, we will go out of our way to make sure that those are addressed. Thank you for your time. And this has been a good idea for us for a long time. Current events aren't driving us to do this. We're driven to do this because we want to raise our children with a faith-based education. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Farrell, followed by Eddie Farrell. Or Edie Farrell, sorry.
It's my wife next.
Sorry.
Joe Farrell for the record. I want to thank the commissioners for giving us the opportunity to give public comment on this particular code. I am speaking in support of this code. My background is in education that dates back to the 70s when I received an undergraduate degree in education. I've been part of faculty in a postdoctoral program in physical therapy for 35 years. So my background in education is pretty significant. My wife and I raised our children in California, when public schools were in the top 5 in the country back in the early 80s. Currently, unfortunately, in our state of Nevada, we rank 49th in public education out of 50 states. I think it's very important that we give opportunities to every family in the state of Nevada, the opportunity to go to private schools, faith-based, whatever. I think it's important. We need to have free choice in education. I think also that faith-based education is very important, as my colleague Don Farrell pointed out very eloquently, excuse me. I also serve as an elder of the church, and I'm very pro for this particular code to be supported, and in faith-based education. I hope you consider this as a viable option. It's been pointed out that it's by Dr. Farrell, Don Farrell, that this is like, in my opinion, kind of a no-brainer to give opportunities to all citizens in Incline Village and the opportunity for a faith-based education. And I want to thank you for listening to my public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Edie Farrell, followed by Patricia
Only two of us Farrells are related. The spelling was different. And I thank y'all. This is the first time I've been to a commissioners meeting, and you put in a lot of work, and I appreciate it. I'm in favor, like the previous gentleman, about the code amendment to allow the church to have a school there. And I just don't know if y'all know that this started out with COVID, when parents came to the church to say, we're going to start a pod and we have a teacher, but we need space. Can we use your space? And so during COVID, when the schools were shut, the church said, sure, do that. I don't know of any church that says, I really want to go into the school business. This was brought to us, and this was the need of the community. The parents wanted it, and they needed it. And we've just went to a lot of effort to try to pull this together. So I hope y'all would consider passing this code. It's a want and a need by the parents in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Mosier Morris, followed by Peter Larson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Patricia J. Moser Morris, for the record, and I reside at 330 Skiway in Incline Village. I respectfully and strongly urge you to approve this proposed amendment to the Development Code for two reasons. First, because K through 12 education in Nevada consistently ranks 49th or 50th in the nation, and unfortunately, throwing more money at this problem has not changed this situation. Only more competition will change the situation, because giving parents an alternative to the dysfunctional public education system is the only way to truly incentivize the public schools here to improve. All of our children deserve an education that will prepare them to succeed in life. Secondly, I believe that success in life has a crucially important spiritual dimension, and that therefore parents should have the option of sending their children to a Christian school. The proposed amendment would make possible future applications for two Christian schools. Such future applications would, of course, be evaluated in a separate process, the special use permit evaluation process. But such applications cannot even be submitted unless and until the proposed amendment is adopted. Please approve this proposed Development Code amendment to the Tahoe Wood Creek Regulatory Zone. Thank you for your consideration and hopefully approval.
Thank you. Peter Larson, followed by Paige Roothouse.
Hello, thank you for your time today. My name is Peter Larson. I'm a teacher at St. Clair's. I was just teaching the Pythagorean theorem this morning, so this is very important to us. I came down for this. There was a public comment earlier at this meeting at about 10 o'clock about some safety concerns with the school, so I just wanted to bring up some counterpoints to those. The elementary school, so the public school, was initially not where it is now, and was in fact built on an earthquake fault line on the perimeter of town, not the town center, and it took a zoning change to build the elementary school in its current location. The church, so St. Francis, has been in the neighborhood longer than most of the neighbors, almost 6 decades. During that time, the church has been peacefully functioning with far more activities involving traffic and children than the addition of a modest school would bring. Services 4 times a weekend, weddings and/or funerals, most weekends, weekly religious education classes with over 100 kids, not to mention community events such as concerts and public talks. When you consider the church's capacity of roughly 300 people, these proven safe activities, which have barely gotten the notice of neighbors, constituted far more activity and traffic than a small school would. It seems proximity to a major thoroughfare would improve access regarding evacuation and emergency services, not impede it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Paige Roothouse, followed by Gia Rowenhorst.
Hi, good morning or afternoon. I don't know what time it is now. I'm Paige Roothouse. I am the co-founder with my husband Alex and current director of St. Clair's Montessori School. Thank you for hearing us today. Really appreciate your time. I just want to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we're doing to serve the community. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We have been serving the North Tahoe area for almost 6 years. We started our first 4 years, we operated out of a Hebrew congregation in Tahoe Vista. We are a small school serving 22 families and 45 students. We are a licensed childcare provider, serving the community in that critical infrastructure need area by admitting children as young as 2.5 years old. Our Montessori method enriches our community by providing access to a world-renowned education model that is based on a self-paced, differentiated learning model. We charge less than half of the tuition charged by the other private schools in the Tahoe area, and we offer aggressive financial aid to enable families with financial hardship to attend. Currently, 25% of our students receive full financial aid scholarships. As Peter mentioned, the church is already functioning as a major community use building. We have people, hundreds of people, in and out constantly. And what the school does is optimize the use of that building by making use of it from the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. After that, we've got weddings coming in, we've got religious education classes, funerals, community events. So it really is a bustling hub that already accommodates all of this traffic and capacity for people, et cetera. There is a huge precedent for co-locating Catholic schools with Catholic churches in Washoe County. All 4 of our Catholic schools are co-located with their Catholic church. There's a reason for that. It's because we participate in the sacraments through our churches. So it really is our religious home, and part of religious education entails bringing the students to Mass, to adoration, and to participate in those sacraments that we hold dear. I just want to end by saying, it's not easy to run a nonprofit. We give our lives in service to the community. That's something that I love doing. These are my gifts that I want to give our community, and I feel privileged to be able to do it. But it's costly. It involves a whole lot of time, a whole lot of sacrifice, and we need our nonprofits in our communities because they make our communities richer. And we rely on our community members to give their gifts back to the community. And so we just ask you to please open the doors for us. As one of the former speakers said, it's not everywhere that you can open a school in Incline Village. It's a tiny little community. Real estate is through the roof. We don't have millions of dollars to spend. We received a $100,000 grant earlier in the year from the governor as part of his initiative to promote more childcare options, and we've already used a lot of that on this process. So thank you so much for your efforts, and we hope to be able to continue.
Thank you. Gia Rowenhorst, followed by Alex Roothouse.
Good afternoon. My name is Gia Rowenhorst, and I hold a Master's of Education in Elementary Education, and I'm licensed as an early childhood educator in the state of Nevada. When my family moved to Incline Village in 2015, we immediately became registered members of St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church and placed our young children in schools we felt met their academic needs. When our son was entering 3rd grade, my husband and I made the decision to have our son join the fledgling St. Clair's Montessori School because of a long desire that our children have both a high-quality academic and a faith-based upbringing. For nearly 6 years now, my son has grown and thrived at St. Clair's, but no more so than the past 2 years when the school has been housed at St. Francis Church. The school has always been Catholic, first under the wing of the Sacramento Diocese when the school was located in California, but now as a fully recognized Catholic school in the Diocese of Reno. Not only has the school benefited from being located in the parish, giving the children access to Mass services during the week, but the majority of parish members have embraced the school and offered support in qualitative and quantitative ways. My son is known by many weekend church services because active parishioners see him daily. The majority of parishioners are in support of the school's location and existence as quantitative data through school donations and parishioner poll numbers can show. The anecdotal qualitative data I can offer is that I have dozens of members of the church telling me that my son shows what it means to follow Jesus' teaching, that he is respectful, that he is helpful, and that he is kind. St. Clair's Montessori has helped my husband and I realize our dreams for our son's education and character. Having this choice has meant so much to my family, and my son has excelled academically at the school because of the faculty and administration's focus, and is set to attend Bishop Minogue next year as an honors student, despite a long-term struggle with dyslexia. St. Clair's has become an integral part of St. Francis's community. The parish, its pastor, and our diocese would like to see the school be a permanent part of the Incline Village community. Families in Incline Village in North Tahoe need the unique school and childcare option it offers, and the families of the school and many parishioners of St. Francis are dedicated to its long-term success. So I ask you to please make the appropriate decision today to allow St. Clair's to continue to thrive in its location at St. Francis's Church.
Thank you. Alex Roothouse, followed by Penny Brock.
Hello, my name is Alex Roothouse. Thank you, commissioners, for your time today. I will keep it short. You just heard from a bunch of people in support, and there's not much different that I could say than what they say. It's obvious, just from the fact of the number of people that are down here in support. You know, parents with jobs that are taking time off of work to be here, retired folks from the community, people from the churches. It clearly means a lot that people are willing to come. And as we've had to learn, these agendas at these meetings sometimes aren't as fixed as you'd think, right? So we'll show up at 10 and then we realize, oh, we're not going to be heard till 2 o'clock, but we'll stay anyway because it matters and it's time well spent. The one thing I do want to address is there has been some pushback from the local community saying, oh, wait, we don't know if we want a school in this church. Maybe this will add traffic to the neighborhood. Maybe it will create safety issues. Maybe there's just other intangible things that might impact the quality of life from living in the neighborhood. And just to address those points, it's understandable, right, that you would say, oh, I don't want a school near my house. I don't want to hear, you know, the noise of children or things like that. But the reality is, if you actually take the time to look at a map and the overlay of this Wood Creek regulatory zone, the parcels that you can put schools on, they're not within the residential area. They're all on the outskirts of this zone. They all border on Mount Rose Highway or on Highway 28, right? So they're right at that intersection and incline where the traffic circle is. And the parcels that are even big enough, there's the 2 that are owned by the churches, the 2 applicants, and then the others are owned by the state, the county, and IVGID, right, the recreation district. And so there is not this possibility of schools springing up in this single-family neighborhood. You're not going to be able, someone isn't going to be able to say, oh, I'm going to turn my house into a school because it's on parcels bigger than 3 acres. So there really isn't any actual impact to the residential core of this zone. The parcels and the schools are really on the outside. So I just want to call that out just as you think about the day-to-day implications and if there is some of that negative feedback, that it is a very manageable process to the points of Peter and Paige. There's already been a church with all of its various activities taking place in this area for decades. So really that isn't changing. That's all I have to say. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Penny Brock.
Penny Brock, for the record, please put my comments in the record per NRS. I am shocked that this agenda item is on the agenda. Why is that? This is a constitutional issue. It comes under freedom of religion. No government entity has a right to tell a church what they can offer. You cannot give them a license to have a Sunday church, their Sunday church worship service. You cannot tell them they have to have a license to have Bible studies or children's programs. This is no different. These two churches want to offer a ministry of a Christian school. You shouldn't even be hearing this issue. This group has a right. If you deny this, they will have a right to hire an attorney. I can help them find an attorney. I started 2 private Christian schools in Reno. I have been down the road. I know the law on this issue. So I would encourage you to approve this, which I really don't think I think you should just get rid of it, because you don't even have a right to tell them they can have the school. You are exceeding your boundary, and you are opening yourself up for a lawsuit. Thank you.
That's all the public speakers, but I do have a comment that was emailed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Opening it up to the board, any questions for staff or the applicant? I'm not seeing any. And yes, oh, I'm so sorry, Vice Chair Herman.
I'm sorry. I'm prepared to move to introduce and
Wonderful.
the first reading for bill number
1901, right, Madam Clerk?
1901. Okay, 1901. And which do you want the whole?
You could just say as
It's written.
in the staff. Okay. No second needed. So we have done our first reading. Congratulations. We will see you for the second reading. What date will that be, Madam Clerk?
February 20th.
February 20th. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everyone. We will now move to item 15. Madam Clerk.
This will be bill number 1902, an ordinance amending Washoe County Code Chapter 45 by modifying the definitions of division director and child care under Washoe County Code 45.010 and modifying the creation and composition of the Washoe County Human Services Agency and the method of selection of its division directors under Washoe County Code 45.020.
Thank you very much. Does the commission want to hear a staff report on this item? Yeah, I agree. I'm not seeing any. Okay. With that, is there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
There's nobody signed in.
Okay. I am looking for someone to introduce this item. Thank you, Commissioner Andriola. And with that, we have presented the item. We will hear this again. What's the date for the second reading, Madam Clerk?
According to the staff report, February 13th.
February 13th. Thank you. Now we will move to our public hearing for the day. Item 16. Mr. Manager. No, this is Madam Clerk. Excuse me.
This will be ordinance number 1710, if approved. An ordinance pursuant to Nevada Revised Statutes 278.021-201 through 278.0207, approving a development agreement between Washoe County and St. James Village, Inc. for St. James Village, a residential subdivision, tentative subdivision map, case number TM 5-2-92. The purpose of the development agreement is to extend the deadline for recording the next final map from October 16th, 2023 to October 16th, 2025, and to adopt amended conditions of approval, WAC 23-0013. The project is located along the central portion on both sides of Joy Lake Road, west of the I-580 freeway. The project encompasses a total of approximately 1,626 acres, and the total number of residential lots allowed by the approved tentative map is 530. The parcels are located within the forest planning area and Washoe County Commission District Number 2. APN numbers 046-08040, 046-06045, and 47, 046-131-24, 046-13206, 046-13315, and 17, 046-18012, 14, and 15, 154-01107, 156-04009, 10, 14, and 15, 156-11123, 156-14104. It was formerly introduced as Bill 1900.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Does the commission want to see a staff report on this item? I'm not seeing a need for that. Then, Madam Clerk, can you please open it up for public comment? This is a public hearing.
Ken Crater?
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Ken Crater, representing the developer on this project. I just want to quickly discuss a couple of points that were brought up under public comment in the last meeting, just to set the record straight, because I think this is important. First of all, there was concern about the gate and emergency access, but the fire department actually controls the gate. So if there's an emergency, the fire department has the key, the full authority to open that gate as needed for anything under the sun. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, it was brought up because of that gate, there's no more access for Joy Lake Road for people to get to the Highway 395, but there's a couple reasons for that. And probably the most important is that old road has some not good geometry, and there's a hairpin curve as you head down the hill and turn west to go towards the freeway. And just recently, in fact, there was a run off the road incident there on that hairpin curve. So that gate actually provides for better safety by not opening up that access to people to zip down the hill in their SUVs. Also, the project is over 50% developed, and I believe the homeowners want the project to be built out. The water system was approved previously by the Washoe County Water Resources Department, but now with Tumwa on board, they have a different set of standards. I'm confident that we will work this out with Tumwa. Everyone wants this project to be built out. We just need more time. So I appreciate your support, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, there's nobody else signed in, but I do have an email that was received that will be placed on the record.
Great. Any commissioner comments or additional questions? I'm not seeing any. This is a second reading, so I am looking for someone to move to adopt the ordinance, and the ordinance number is 1710.
I would make that motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Herman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Any questions on that motion? I'm not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Thank you very much. That motion passes. We will now move to item 17. Mr. Manager.
Item 17 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments that are be made to the commission as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Clerk.
Penny Brock is up.
Penny Brock for the record. Please put my comments in the record per NRS. I'm here to once again ask for paper ballots and hand count the ballots, which means no Dominion voting machines. I will be up here until the primary election because we as voters have a right to vote however we want. Our NRS gives us that right. You continually refuse to put it on the agenda so a vote can be taken. So I ask that this be put on the agenda, a vote to be taken on paper ballots and hand count. The reason for this, you might remember that, I believe it was in November, I brought to your attention that there is a case going on in Atlanta, Georgia, pertaining to the Dominion voting machines. On Friday, it was demonstrated that the Dominion voting machines are so bad that they changed the vote merely by an ink pen. The judge was appointed by Obama. So she's a liberal judge. However, even she has concerns. She wants fair, honest, and secure elections. So I love her for that. And she's very concerned. She's already intimated she is not going to favor the electronic voting system, in particular the Dominion voting machines. And here we are in Washoe County, just down the hall, with the Dominion voting machines. We, the voters of Washoe County, want paper ballots and hand count. What are you afraid of by not putting it on the agenda? You work for us. We elected you to represent us, we the people. And we the people want paper ballots and hand count. The Election Integrity Committee, of which I was a part of the last 2 years, we found over and over and over again, voter fraud took place in Washoe County. This is going to be a very important election year. We ask you to give us a fair, honest, and secure election by paper ballots and hand counting the ballots. Let's see. I've got a handout I'm going to put in the public record here. The gentleman, the University of Michigan professor, Jay Halderman, who demonstrated this to the court on Friday, he issued a report. And he says, our report explains how attackers could exploit the flaws we found to change votes and potentially even affect election outcomes in Georgia, including how they could defeat the technical and procedural protections the state has in place. So this is a huge issue. It's not over yet. I am following this case in Georgia. I will be back to report as news comes.
Janet Butcher, followed by Terry Donahue.
Janet Butcher for the record. I was a little, I don't understand. We just had a public hearing and 2 of the commissioners left the room. I think that's a little rude. Anyway, to piggyback on the, and to again reiterate that there will be no delegates sent to the Republican National Convention coming out of the presidential primary preference. It is a waste of $5 million. I realize that you guys didn't set it forth, but just for the record, I would suggest that you speak with your legislatures and say, stop spending money wastefully. Also, too, about the Dominion machines, any programmer worth their weight would know that you could, and unless you can go through that code and make sure, and even you can write code that will literally eat itself and do things. It's easy. I've done things like that to prove it. So the Dominion machines need to go, and you need to talk to your legislatures and let them know that the $5 million is a big, big waste of money. Should have gone to the school instead.
Thank you. Terry Donahue.
Hi. I've been here this whole meeting, and I particularly like the part where the people came up, and especially the kid in the orange, smiling from ear to ear because his life was turned around by people who cared. It was wonderful to see. I loved it. But then just way back in, I guess it's 14, we had a whole group of people wanting to reach out and teach our kids and develop them in the way they should go from the tiny all the way up. Didn't get much of a response. They're a church. They're wanting to raise their kids up in the way they want their children to be raised. And I bet you anything, those kids, if they are allowed the opportunities, aren't going to need the previous experiences of that wonderful young man in orange. It makes sense. Enough. Thanks.
Thank you.
There's nobody else signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now move to item 18. Mr. Manager.
Item 18 is Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information, or topics for future agendas.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I've got Vice Chair Herman signed in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to just talk about one thing that I'd like to have. It's a revisit of annexation. We need to put a bill together that slows down that annexation without responsibility. And I want us to prepare a bill or the information for a bill to the legislature this coming year about annexation. It's caused a lot of grief for a lot of people. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Clark?
I'd like to support Vice Chair Herman's request for that. So many folks don't realize when they annex into the city of Reno, if that's what she's referring to, it's always, they're promised a lot of good stuff and it doesn't seem to materialize. It's almost, I always use the analogy, it's like paying an insurance premium. You pay this premium, and then when you've got a claim, you never get it as far as services and road cleaning and whatever, fire safety, police safety. So when somebody gets annexed in, if you ever look at a map and you see the hopscotch and the jumping all over with the annexation of county property, I think that it was a disservice to the county citizens. So I'd like to see that come forward also. Also, I'd like to, again, I did it at the start of the meeting, I'm going to do it now, ask when, if we can get a time certain, when Commissioner Herman's registration of voters or voting issues and any of the things that she has on her program can come up for a vote. I look to my other commissioners to support her and get that on the agenda in a time certain way. I'd ask my colleague, Commissioner Andriola, to also echo that, and let's get this on the agenda, get it a vote, and that'll be the end of it. It goes whichever way it goes, but let's let the public understand our position on this. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Not seeing any. With that, we are. I'm so sorry, Mr. Manager. What do you have?
It's all right. On that note, I do want to update the board that Commissioner Herman's resolution is sitting at the Secretary of State's office for clearance. It has been reviewed by Washoe County Legal. It was then forwarded to the Secretary of State's office. We'll continue to work with them to get that clarified.
Thank you for your due diligence on that. With that, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.